So, I was talking about Tony Blair, who had a great talk with Arnold Schwarzenegger in global, Austrian Global Summit. I mean, so he would say that, uh, policy is different than activism. And that's what every PhD and a researcher understands. Activism is about really fast solutions, representing a kind of impatience, but mostly it is done for awareness. There has to be a peaceful strategy for activism, and what is happening in LA is kind of is supported through this mantra of activism. But activism is always peaceful. It is for awareness, not conflict and destruction. So whatever is happening in LA, if it is leading to, loss of material or life, it is not activism. Then it is going beyond law. While at the same time, policy is something totally else, where researchers would come in to give a detailed explanation and a paradigm, or analyze different paradigms, to then present it to the politician, who would really know how to then deliver it to the people. Now, while understanding the people, their culture, their strengths, and also we will have a big data with him, with a large government representatives, bureaucracy, and other and ministers, who would then guide the leader to then create one of the best policies. I mean, that's a standard story of economics and business studies. While at the same time, this action-oriented strategy against pollution, I mean, such a great hint given by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Absolutely. What would allow people to really make action? It seems to be technology firms are doing that, and they are private enterprises. So there has to be a certain commitment. And absolutely, if you talk about this consumer welfare, it fits so perfectly that what is that, anything which would contribute to pollution and then would have health consequences, or it should be explained as pollution, and a negative externality of a private enterprise, how it produces its output. And then of course a company would go to lengths to then have a technology or ensure a system of production which will contribute to zero, which will have zero emissions. So simple as that. But what about countries, nation states? That's something interesting, because of course technology firms are not the only business enterprises. There are so many other enterprises, businesses, so different levels of businesses. So it means that the government should also be taken on board by this slogan. Yes, what we need to do is we need to get the public support, and that's where you will then start understanding where would the solution will be coming in, and where would the policy be made. Not through activism. Yes, awareness. Awareness has been done so spectacularly by this Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, look at his expression, look at his words, look at his commitment. Tony Blair, his one thing, just to share a joke, how Arnold Schwarzenegger would, these dignitaries, including German Chancellor, he would just quip that, so in Germany, every time, in Europe, there is kind of a change of a chancellor. So it was the same with me when, after Tony Blair, I was wondering what happened to American, British politics. I mean, such a dynamic, impressive leader like Tony Blair, who served for so long, and then suddenly political landscape entirely changed. There was a kind of a bit of instability and uncertainty. And now we know that, every time, after every 2 years, there is a new prime minister. Whereas, imagine me in 2003, or starting my PhD and then listening to Tony Blair for so many years, wondering, starstruck, and would just wonder the quality of the leadership that is represented by British politics. I mean, it still represents, but then there is an important thing to then understand why there is so much political uncertainty kind of a thing, that Britain has to change their prime minister every few years. I mean, Brexit is kind of an issue. Then there is, this identity, British identity itself is kind of an issue. Economic recession has created a little bit of more challenges for Great Britain and the people. So there are some challenges, but that needs to be understood. While at the same time, America, the leaders are even serving 8-year terms. While our current British Prime Minister, I mean, an eloquent person. I mean, really, that's what the quality of leadership of British politicians represent. Would then go to this, the Ukraine-Russia peace agreement would go to White House and meet President Donald Trump. Yeah, but then, foreign policy needs to be reevaluated in Europe and Britain. Just a hint, because I can think on things and then make a separate video. But this is about Austrian Global Summit 2025. And what I'm saying is, if you have picked from whatever I'm discussing, that it was foundationally different. Any forum that has talked about climate change or pollution did not make such a significant impact, but this one is out of ordinary. Simple examples, brilliant interpretations representing economics, future of economics, economic thinking, business strategies, national governance strategies, and with humbleness, with a bit of a humor, and a lot of